is commendable. I think it's great that you're recording this. One, for you to also go back and kind of review some of the things that we discussed, but also it's there for your own kid, other people like her, older or younger, who are curious about how hard it is to get started on this topic or how easy, and kind of learn from whatever mistakes that we make, right? Isn't that the point of it? So it's a great idea.
Right, because you brought up something important over there. And this is not on the agenda, but this is so important that I think we can talk about it anytime and every time, which is I don't think people realize the level of system shock that's coming due to AI. And I'm not one of those people who, I think there's a chance that superintelligence could, outcompete humans and render us obsolete, possibly render us extinct. That's a possibility. But I'm not like I'm very open to let's continue to explore this technology. So, and I'm not one of those people who's saying that AI will take everybody's jobs, right? Although that is still a possibility, but I don't think that's a high possibility. But you think about it from a very simplistic level. There are 160 million people in the U.S. workforce, right? And jobs, I don't know off the top of my head, but my guess is jobs grow by 2 to 3 million jobs per year. That's my guess. Usually you hear maybe a little less. Let's say 1 to 2 million jobs per year, right? So you have 160 million jobs growing by 1 to 2 million jobs a year. Now let's just say AI starts to, let's say instead of AI replacing all jobs, let's say AI replaces 20% of those jobs, right? So not 100%, 20%. And let's say it doesn't happen next year. Let's say it happens over the next 10 years, right? So 20% of 160 million, right, is about 32 million. Right? 32 million over 10 years is 3.2 million per year, which is roughly what, 260,000 jobs per month.
It's just been gone. Right? Yeah, gone to AI.
So right now we're gaining per month. Think about what a sustained loss of jobs every month over 10 years. What will that do to the economy? What will that do to people's buying power? What will that do to the currencies? What will that do to the corporations? What will that do to just the state, right? And the level of control the state has to exert to stay in power. There's a system shock that's coming that we don't know. And I'm not going to claim to know, but yeah.
Right.
Well, what are your thoughts on that, man?
I think it's inevitable. I'm not versed enough in it enough to put a timeline on it. You're probably closer to that than I am. I also think that the idea is for these corporations to use these tools to replace folks like you and me, developers, testers. Absolutely. But I think it would be more fruitful to replace folks like CEOs and CFOs with these tools, or maybe all of us, right? But I don't know. Maybe this is the Luigi in me talking. I think this would hurt CEOs more than a few bullets would. Not that all CEOs are bad, but there was a study that came out a few years ago that said in order to be a successful CEO of a multi-million or billion-dollar company, you basically have to be a psychopath.
You have to have you have the same psychological profile as a secret company. That's crazy. Think about it.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, what did the free Luigi? I will say that unapologetically. What did that guy who he killed? What did he do? Right?
He behaved in a very amoral way, right?
Well, he took decisions that have contributed to the deaths. You can make a direct connection between denial of claims and patient
and the names of the people who died as a result. Right. Yeah.
Tens of thousands of people every year.
Yeah.
Mass murderer, man.
And like I had to be like, hey, I shouldn't be happy about someone getting murdered in cold blood.
No.
Right? Yeah. But the argument is that if an immoral sycophant or psychopath, the danger they express towards society is handled, then like what am I supposed to feel aside from, hey, that's one less person who could hurt or end up making decisions that hurt thousands more.
Absolutely.
And I would also want to draw a distinction between a war general and a CEO, right? Because we have people go into what your stance on war is irrelevant because it's a thing that happens and it will continue to happen.
Yeah.
and like yeah, all these generals and folks in the leadership book, they also command people's deaths, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
strategically, sometimes through ignorance, but it happens. But there is a very important distinction between that and what a CEO for a company like that would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it,
Yeah.
but I'll kind of leave it there. And people should explore that distinction. And also, you know, again, I don't want to get into like, oh, he's justifying war, he's not justifying war.
Yeah.
I'm just saying war is inevitable. It happens through through human history in the past, and of course in the future, things are happening. And currently now.
Well, here's the thing that put aside AI wiping us out. Here's the thing that should concern us shorter term, right?
Mm-hmm.
That wars in the future will increasingly not be fought by generals.
Yeah.
They will be, going back to talking about AI, they will be
Yeah.
fought by artificially intelligent, effectively super intelligences
Yeah.
that, even if they've not exerted control over humans, they are being controlled by very few humans.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people. Think about it, right? The U.S. defense contractor, the firm Anduril, which
Mm-hmm.
is named after the sword from Lord of the Rings,
Mm-hmm.
which they're focused on building drones which operate using an AI mesh
Mm-hmm.
and operate autonomously. Right? That's one
Sure.
example. They're very focused on using AI technology in military assets.
Oh, that's scary.
So think about it, right? These same companies, if the Chinese government can order DeepSeek to, I know again we're drifting a bit, but
Sure,
this,
sure.
this is important, right? You know, you mentioned earlier the censorship thing, right? The Chinese government has ordered DeepSeek to refuse to share any information or comment at all about Tiananmen Square,
Mhm.
Taiwan, and other topics, right? I know of those two, potentially a lot more, right? But they can exert that level of control. What's the level of control that Sam Altman as the CEO
Yeah.
or Tom
Yeah.
Walke as the CEO of Anduril will exert as direct owners of these systems, right?
Yeah.
So it's
And should they have that level of control, right?
oh, they shouldn't. No human being should.
No human being. But what's the alternative? Have the AI control itself? Because it's been created. Pandora's box is opened, right? So I'm not saying, oh, we have to come up with a solution. I'm just saying, what is the alternative, right?
Well,
Democratize the leadership?
so I'm trying to you know, I think there are two avenues, right? And there are probably more than two, but there are two obvious ones to me. One is right now DeepSeek is, even if it's got Chinese government control, they're an open source model. They're an open source model that can compete with OpenAI's latest model, beat it actually in most benchmarks, right?
Wow.
Not just compete. That was trained for $6 million, and OpenAI spent hundreds of billions of dollars training their models, and they're asking for trillions
Well,
of dollars.
you gotta pay your CEOs.
Yeah, right. So these guys are able to compete at that level for a fraction of the cost, and they've put out their model for everybody to use. So I could download DeepSeek, the R1, which is a reasoning. It's a thinking model. I'll show you. It's pretty cool.
Sure, yeah,
We'll
yeah.
actually jump to that real quick because
Sure, yeah, sure.
we definitely want to touch on. Maybe we'll get to the UAPs thing, but if
That can be a whole topic by itself.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and it probably will. We'll do the second
Yeah.
one, the third one, the fourth one, and we'll keep it going. We'll become like Corbell
And George Knapp.
yeah. I'll be Corbell, obviously.
Oh, the beard, yeah.
Beard.
I'll be the old man. I'll be the old veteran.
This
Yeah.
surprisingly young old man. But,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the level of control that these guys will have, right? So, anyways, let's get back to speaking of DeepSeek. Speaking of just our software models, right? I wanted to sort of demo some of the features of these models.
Yeah, I would love
some
to
of the
see it.
latest ones, right? So I said DeepSeek is what's. I might have mentioned this. I'm not sure. By the way, can you hear the rain in the background at all?
Yeah. Well, I hear the rain in outside my house.
I mean,
So
is the rain coming through in the sound?
no,
Okay.
no, I don't hear it.
Sure, because I'm
Yeah.
saying it's
Yeah, around it.
yeah.
Much needed rain over here.
Yes, wherever we are, undisclosed location.
Nobody knows.
Mhm.
Let's just say it's straight fire.
Yeah. Damn it! Just look at this. My seat sank down again. I'm not. Gonna
Yeah, I know.
I'm just gonna look like
You're like a little kid, yeah.
I look like Gimli from Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was gonna say dwarf, but then I thought of
Oh, will you be
from,
Legolas?
I'd love to be a Legolas.
Ah,
No, but I was thinking of the dwarf that forges Stormbreaker for Thor, or helps forge
E3.
Stormbreaker. E3, that's right, that's his name. Yeah. He's like a tall dwarf, and I was like, this is amazing.
Giant dwarf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DeepSeekR?
So these models, right? DeepSeekR1 and what we're going to look at, which is Gemini's thinking model.
Mhm.
They're both models which are what's known as reasoning models. So without getting too technical, until the last generation of models, right? Until I'm not going to name specific models, but effectively until about November of last year, you had models that if you asked them something, they would basically generate the answer for you based on their training data.
Mhm.
And I'm oversimplifying it because there have been like advances made along the way to
Sure.
make them better at
Sure.
generating intelligent responses.
Yeah, based on. Sorry, you cut out. Say the last part again. Based on.
Basically becoming smarter, right?
Sure. Okay.
But they, at the end of the day, if you ask them something, they immediately just spat out the answer using generative, AI methodology. So they just generated the answer. Then around November of last year, I think OpenAI, if I'm not mistaken, was at least the first reasoning model that I'm aware of that was launched. So reasoning models essentially are models that take time to think. And I'll show you what that means in action, right? So
Okay.
if you ask a question, if you ask ChatGPT a question using the older model, it'll generate the answer right away. This, it'll show you that it's thinking.
Okay.
And you can
Raining
actually
hard.
see, you can actually, they actually show the reasoning that the models go through.
Okay,
So
it's
that's
showing
what
its
we're
work.
using.
It's like math in middle school and high school, where the teacher would be like, "Hey, you have to show your work. You can't just show me the answer." Yeah.
And the effect of that is that these models have just gotten a lot smarter at some of the benchmarks that are truly sort of undeniable to debate in terms of intelligence. And
Okay.
real quick, I'll mention one of the benchmarks is this thing called GPQA, which is Google Proof Question and Answers. It's
Okay.
basically a series of, I don't know, 22, I think 3,000 questions that you can't Google, and you'll only know the answer to those questions if you are like a PhD researcher who spent like a decade
Interesting.
in the field, so that you're really specialized and you've got years of experience, right?
Okay.
So it shouldn't be something that the model can just go and do a search and find the answer to. So in that benchmark, right, if you are one of those people, if you're a human being who's like really smart, a decade-long researcher, you will be able to get about 80% of those questions correct.
Okay.
If you are not an expert in the field, but you're still just a PhD level person, like say you're not an expert in the field of chemistry, but you're an expert in the field of biology. If you took that same test in the field of chemistry, you would score about 30%. So it drops, but because you're smart, you'll score about 30%.
Sure.
The latest OpenAI model and DeepSeek, I believe they score about 60 to 65%.
Okay.
So what that means is that across the board in every field, they're much smarter than the smartest person or the PhD level people. They're not as smart as sort of the experts in each field.
Sure.
But they're getting there.
They could be collaborators with these experts, essentially.
Long
Yeah, right.
story short,
And hold their own.
It's made these models more intelligent and able to accomplish like complex tasks more effectively.
Okay.
All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna. By the way,
That's heavy.
Tell me.
That's heavy talk.
Tell me if you're hitting time, and I can start to wrap it up.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Got at least another 15, 20 minutes.
All right, so I am sharing my screen.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Let me zoom in.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm not gonna read the bullets.
yeah.
Something tells me AI will summarize it for me.
Don't read the bullets. So I want you to read my prompts. All right. So the way I'm gonna do this demo, Raj, is I'm gonna do it two ways. Right. First, I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna use these AI tools to do some research. And the topic that I'm picking for research is UAPs.
Nice.
So, but I also want to show you sort of how these models are operating right now, and I want to show you how they have different results and how I'm actually using these different results using NotebookLM.
Okay. And for those listening, UAPs refers to unidentified anomalous phenomena, and this is what the government is calling UFOs now, for which apparently all of disclosure is happening in January and February, but I don't know. I would take it with a grain of salt in general, but
so we're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it with NotebookLM. with the AI podcaster.
Okay.
So in order to do it with the AI podcasters, I'm going to do a little bit of research first. I'm going to do it live so
Sure.
that, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to watch the process.
So, well, I did a little bit of prep work, all right?
Sure.
So I have three tabs open. I have what's Google's AI Studio. It's
Okay.
got, if you can see this over here, it says Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental 121. So this is
Wait,
Google's.
where in the top left or top? Because I'm zoomed in. That's why I want to check. Oh, on the right. Okay.
Did you see that the box that opened up?
Yes, yes, I see
Okay.
it. Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking Experimental. Okay.
So this is Google's reasoning model.
Okay.
In tab number 2, I'm going to be using. You can't see it right now, but this is
Gemini Advanced.
Google. Yeah, it's there. It's the
I'll
non-reasoning
zoom out a
model.
little. Okay.
And over here, I've got DeepSeek, which is the Chinese model.
Okay. And the non-reasoning model for Google, that's just an LLM then?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
even the reasoning model is an LLM, but
Okay.
the non-reasoning model is just the one that they've said is sort of ready for. Well, it's still experimental. It's just different types of models. But yeah,
Okay.
the reasoning
Okay.
model, you can think of it as reasoning model will be used for more complex tasks, and for simpler
Okay.
tasks like queries, people can use the non-reasoning model.
Okay. So reasoning models will be used for anything that requires more complex compute,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fair enough. It's in the name, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good question, man.
Yeah.
And so the third tab is DeepSeek, which is the Chinese AI. And for all of them, I'm asking the same series of questions. So I'm saying, I want to dictate a prompt for conducting deep research into a topic. I'm going to share my thoughts about the prompt, and after those thoughts, I want you to summarize the prompt in bullets and help me make it a good prompt.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So I just
Okay.
dictated this. That's why the font is all over the place.
Sure,
So I
that's
dictated
fine.
this, all right? So then I'm not going to go over what they said, but basically I said after that. So I'll just mention each of the three models will respond to what I'm saying, but I'm going to focus
Okay.
on what they're going to do at the end. I'll talk
Okay.
about a little bit about what they're doing as well. But basically here they're all saying, okay, sure, go ahead, tell me what you want the research to be done. So
And real quick, was this a text prompt or speech to text
so
prompt
this
that
is
you
speech to text,
speech to text? Okay.
but I copied over the prompt in all the
Sure.
three models.
Sure.
I copied
Sure.
over the exact same thing. So I dictated to one and I copied to the others.
Sure.
So then what I said is prepare a detailed report into the subject of UAPs
Mhm.
for the time period of the last 12 months. Ensure that you also cover the topic and dedicate one section of the report to the topic of drones, that the extensive drone sightings that were seen during, again, text to speech, so not perfect, but it's
Sure.
understandable,
Yeah.
that were seen during the months of October to
Excuse me.
November and December over major cities like New Jersey and several military installations. Use a wide range of sources, including YouTube, and read it. I did not catch this. I just copied it over. I said
Oh,
read it.
okay. Oh, and Reddit. Okay.
Yeah, but that's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
It didn't catch that. So again, I've copied over the same prompt without actually changing the language. So that's interesting to all the other to the other two as well.
Mhm.
And so here's the response from Google's reasoning model. All right?
Mhm.
It sort of summarized what I said, and then it made a detailed list of suggestions. It asked questions, right? So what I'm highlighting is sort of this complex conversation that's happening
Sure.
between me and Google and Gemini,
Mhm.
right? So it's asking these questions. It's telling me go ahead and answer these questions, and it summarized some recommendations for key improvements.
Mhm.
What I did was, instead of answering these questions, what I said, I've typed this. I've not actually hit enter yet. I typed this out,
Okay.
I've not hit enter, and this says, based on the information that I provided about the topic, I want you to make some creative assumptions to the questions you raised and prepare the detailed report. So I'm telling Gemini to go out and figure out what are the answers to, just make some assumptions to the answers to the questions that it itself is raising, right?
Right.
Some questions
Right.
like what do we mean by UAPs? What do we mean
Right.
by a detailed report?
Sure.
So I'm challenging it to think some more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I'll hit enter for this,
Okay.
and I'll show you what happens, and then we'll do the same
boy.
with the other two. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Why do I feel anxious all of a sudden? Yeah.
One other thing, right? One other thing I want to show you. You see this thing up here that says temperature?
Uh huh.
You see it says 1.6 next to it,
Uh huh.
right?
Yeah.
Temperature is a creativity setting for the LLM.
Okay.
So because
Okay.
it's a thinking model, if I reduce the temperature, it becomes less creative. It thinks it's effectively, if you increase the temperature, it'll think more outside the box. So
Okay. Why isn't it maxed out?
well, I didn't want it to be maxed out. I wanted it to be at like the recommended temperature for like really creative stuff is. Oh, you know what? Let's max it out. So the max out is 2. So
Okay.
we'll ask
Based on what it responds, we can reduce it if we need to. It's like TARS when we had to when he had to change the humor setting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's such an
Yeah.
apt comparison. By the way,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Can you hear the rain?
Just at my place.
Okay. Oh, because
Yeah.
it picked up, right? And so it's like
Yeah,
really
it
heavy
did.
over here. But,
Yeah.
all right. So I know we're coming up on time. We'll get through this. We'll
Yeah.
get through a bit,
Yeah.
and then I think maybe the UAPs we can talk about next time.
Yeah, we'll pick up. This is a good like segue into
Yeah.
the next topic in a future.
All right. So wait, actually, before I hit run,
Mhm.
I'm going to show you what the other.
Oh,
what
the
other
blue balls are so real. Come on, man. I want to see.
So what Google's non-reasoning model did was same prompts. What it did was it kind of asked me. It made some suggestions. But what it did not do is it did not actually give me. No, let me put it this way. I'm asking the reasoning model to prepare the report because it is a reasoning model. It can do some deep research.
Sure.
This model cannot do deep research. So there's a different version, like an earlier thinking model, not an earlier thinking model. There's something called deep research as well that Google has released that I wanted to show you. So all I'm doing to this model is I'm telling it to just give me an improved prompt. I'm not asking it to actually prepare the report.
Okay.
I'm going to do a second thing on this screen to actually get the report with the prompt that Gemini 2.0, the non-reasoning version, suggests.
Sure.
And
then what about DeepSeek?
DeepSeek, right? So this is the interesting one. We'll take a little time here. Just a little time, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
The same thing. I want to dictate the prompt. Look at this. You can't read it, but it says over here, thought for 16 seconds, and then everything that I'm highlighting over here is its actual reasoning. So it says okay, the user wants to create a prompt for deep research on the topic they'll share. Let me break that down, and I need to consider the flow, possible steps. Wait, the user mentioned something else, and then stop. Maybe they want me to complete the sentence like.
Whoa! So it's really talking through its thought process.
Yeah, it's really thinking through its thought process. So now what was different is at the end of its thought process, the Gemini reasoning model gave me these questions, right? So it asked me to answer these questions.
Yeah.
At the end of DeepSeek's thought process, it just went to the next step. It gave me the plan. It prepared the detailed report directly.
I'll proceed.
And so it actually.
Is it there? Yeah, I saw it. You scrolled past it. I saw you in congressional hearings or something.
Oh yeah, sorry. This is it, right? Like when I shared what my thoughts were, instead of asking me questions, it just went ahead and it prepared.
Yeah, there it is. Thing
directly. So
and sources cited. That's awesome.
This is already done, right? Like it's cited sources. It's already prepared its report, and it didn't. It just made assumptions to the questions. It figured stuff out and it prepared a report. So this is done. So now we're gonna ask Gemini to get done. Let's click on run. I'm gonna expand to view model's thoughts. So here's, you know what? This is we're not.
Oh wow.
So what I clicked on that was it was showing me all the thought process, right? It was as it was thinking, and this is the report that it prepared. So pretty cool report. It feels like this is maybe shorter than the other report, and I don't see sources.
Well, the screen seems wider, so
maybe,
I think that's why.
We're going to consider all three. And now the non-reasoning model, right? I said, go ahead and just give me the prompt. Right, so I've asked it to give me the prompt.
Assumptions. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I might have selected an earlier version of their reasoning model as well, because it looks like it's. Is it reasoning?
I don't think so, right? Oh, it is. Since we're discussing recent events in moment period.
Oh, here's the prompt. All right, I generated the prompt.
Okay. So now you can just copy and paste the prompt itself.
It did explain its reasons, actually, even though I didn't ask it to. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it didn't explain its thought process. It didn't show me its thoughts.
Oh, right.
But
That's not
some rationale, which is interesting. But I wonder if the rationale is generated as well, as opposed to actual reasoning. But anyways, I'm going to copy over this prompt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this thing called Gemini Deep Research.
Okay.
So Gemini Advanced 1.5 Pro with Deep Research.
Okay. And this model you had to pay for, right? There's a subscription-based model?
No, this model, well, actually, it is.
It is.
I believe it is.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Maybe this one is available, but the thinking model is not. By the way, am I too bright on the screen?
Maybe a little bit, but I kind of like it.
Okay. So
I don't mind.
So Deep Research Now it's thinking.
Hmm.
It spent a little time thinking. Now
Hmm.
look at the difference in the process
Whoa.
over here. What it's done is it's given
Holy.
me a plan. This is a plan. This is not the report itself. It's giving
Hmm.
me a plan of everything that it's going to do. I'm not even going to read
Find
through it.
news articles, find
I'm just going
eyewitness
to say
records.
start research, and this might take a few minutes actually.
I'm gonna sit here and wait. I want to see this.
Yeah. Well, so what we're going to do in parallel, right? Well, how about this? So it starts showing you the websites that it's researching. Look at this.
Okay. Okay.
So it's really cool. It'll list all of these at the end of the report as well.
Sure.
So you
Sure.
have all the sources and
Wow. Look at
actually,
so many. 12 websites starting with,
oh,
including
it'll
Wikipedia.
probably go to like 30, 40, 50. I've gotten up to 100 websites. I've been
Wow.
researching 100 websites. So how about this? Let's come back to this. What I'm going to do is, so you saw the episodes, right? The
Uh.
episode you saw the thing about Notebook LM.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're in Notebook LM now. What I
Okay.
did for Notebook LM to prep for this episode, and we won't start this, right? We'll just set up, we'll just complete this
Sure.
segment, and then we'll talk about UAPs next time.
Sure.
But what I did in Notebook LM was I created a UAP notebook.
Okay.
So again, just to recap, in case people didn't watch the previous episode, Notebook
Hmm.
LM is a tool by Google. It's free. It's a great tool that I think, great tool for just like doing research into specific topics, where you can, if there's a bunch of like YouTube videos on a specific topic or a bunch of sort of training material on a specific topic, you can put everything in here, and you can basically use the information that you put in there can act as sort of a data set for Gemini to then work its magic, and you can run queries against that data set like you would with any chatbot like ChatGPT. So you basically have your own little instance of a little AI model for your data. And it's really cool because you can put in up to 50 sources in the free version, right? So
That's a lot. Yeah.
what I did was to prep for this, I searched for UAPs on YouTube.
Hmm.
I did it for the last 12 months. And I first sorted by view count, and I selected maybe 5 or 6 videos, and then I sorted by relevance, and I selected maybe 3 or 4 videos, and I put all these videos in here, right? So
Okay.
all those videos from YouTube are going to act as sources, but that's not all that's going to be a source. By the way, you can see my
Yeah.
you can see my screen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see?
I like the little alien emoji, and I see the little window
Oh,
where I'm also there.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can hide it, but okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it auto-generated. I put in UAPs, and it
I
auto-generated
came up
this
with that,
cute
huh?
alien emoji. That's so cute, right? Gemini is so cute. So kawaii.
Our AI overlord, so cute.
Yeah, so adorable. Yep. So I put all of that in as sources. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to go to Gemini, the reasoning model, and I'm going to copy over that information. I'm going to add a note here. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to say Gemini thinking. And
Holy
I'm
moly!
going to
Wait,
save.
where are these notes from?
So this is the research that the Gemini thinking model did. The report.
Okay, but it's what about that other report that we were waiting for?
Yeah. So let's see where that is. So that's still in
Yeah.
progress. It's about half done.
Wow.
This is showing
Okay.
that, and it's up to
Okay.
44 websites.
Holy crap!
Um,
Okay. Okay.
But I'm going to do the same thing for the DeepSeek model. I'm going to take its report, and
Okay.
I am going to add it as another note.
So these two are kind of sources along with the YouTube videos.
Yep. So
Okay.
this will
Or
all
data
become a source.
Wow.
And maybe I should have run the deep research one sooner. But it's fascinating. Now okay.
That's okay.
It's
Yeah,
75%
that's almost
done.
done.
So now we can focus
Yeah.
on this. You'll see the report that it comes up with. It should be pretty interesting.
And then to copy the report, what you just copy the link that the report is generated in, and you just paste that in.
So for most models, you
Oh, there's a
just have
copy
the
option.
thing.
Okay. Okay.
For Google AI Studio, for some reason, so this is actually not Google's main Gemini, interface.
Mhm,
This is
mhm.
actually what we were using over here was their main interface.
Right.
This is something called Google AI Studio that we have access to through the Gemini Pro subscription,
Okay.
where you can actually build agents in here.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. There's some cool things there's another thing that I actually wanted to demo over here, which
Mhm.
maybe while we're waiting for this, we'll do that.
Sure.
I mean, we'll wait for this to finish, but there's something else that I want to generate after this that I'll show you.
Well, so if we can just make these reports, and make reports based on the reports that we've generated,
Mm-hmm.
like what are schools going to do? I don't know. Half of my school life in America was
Generating
writing
reports,
essays,
right?
yeah, creating reports.
I mean, to put it bluntly, right? There are you're going to have schools have a limited amount of funding, which
Mhm.
means let's just say a school decides that it's going to invest in anti, you know, AI generated in tools that can detect AI generated student content.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's done.
Ooh. Oh, okay. How big is this?
All right, so this is cool. So look, this is a proper report here.
Holy
Look
crap.
at these sections. Like it's properly done report. It's drawn a correlation, possible sightings of drones, and yeah, 44 websites. It's got all the sources up here, and it's got some
Wow.
related content down here.
That's amazing.
So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to click open in docs, and what it'll do is it'll take the report, and you'll see it in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll create it in Google Docs. So you've got this
Perfectly
professional
formatted.
reporting report, a
Yeah.
professional looking report, right?
Yeah.
And this is fascinating because you can actually use this then to, research content for. So to put it a different way, I am using this to research. This Notebook LM is and deep research are very core to my learning experience right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because what I'm showing you right now, right, like assembling sources and then doing some deep research and then learning from that is. I'll show you one of my notebooks. I've got like 40 sources right now in that.
Wow.
I'm That's how I'm going to be doing some of my learning.
Okay.
But yeah, so now this is in Google Docs. I'm going to go back to Notebook LM. I'm not copying that over. What I'm going to do
Mm-hmm.
is add a source, and I can add a source from Google Docs. And here's the
Oh,
source.
that's awesome. Okay.
So I insert the Google Doc as a source, and then what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to say convert all notes to source as well.
Okay.
So both those two
Right.
reports are also sources. And that's it. So this is the data. This is up to date. What I'm
Okay.
gonna do right now, and we'll end in a couple of minutes, but I'm gonna generate the audio podcast for you.
Sure. Sure.
Did you see this on the other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
so I figured, and this is where we can end it for tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll generate the audio podcast, and
Let them go for a minute or two. I want to
yeah,
hear what the.
we'll let it go. We'll maybe interrupt a bit,
Yeah.
and then that's where we pick it up for our next, um, episode
Yeah.
that we're doing together, and we can even add to some of these sources with some of the latest stuff that's going on.
Sure.
Maybe there'll
Yeah.
be disclosure. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at this. I've got something. Well, I don't know whether you can see this, but one of the
Joe
sources
Rogan,
is
Ryan Graves. Okay.
One of them is a video about Trump and the drones. So
Okay.
yeah, I got some interesting sources in there.
My God. This yeah, and it's just embedded video. And so it's based on the transcripts of the videos themselves, right?
Yep. It's based on the transcripts of the videos. So
Okay.
I use some pretty I use some of the hearings.
Sure.
I use
Okay.
News Nation. Although
Sure.
a lot of News Nation links weren't working.
Interesting.
Check out
On YouTube.
Russ Coulthard.
Okay.
Use that as sources. So I use some interesting sources.
Okay.
All right, so let's hit
Covering a lot of
generate.
topics.
And while we are doing that, so it'll take a few minutes for the thing to generate.
Wait, I want to call out though and interrupt here.
Yeah.
Everything that's been created thus far has been by AI, just
Mm-hmm.
through your prompting and you finding these YouTube links might have taken you like good YouTube links, what 35, 40 minutes, right?
Probably 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Not even that, but
And
yeah,
we're
yeah,
about to listen to possibly an hour-long podcast on this topic,
yeah,
summarizing and taking into account all these data sources,
yeah.
some of which was generated by different artificial intelligence models.
Well, and here's the cool thing, right? So let's say the podcast that gets generated is 30 minutes long.
Mhm.
Once it starts playing it, if you use did you see the feature where you can call in, you can ask questions? Here's the
You're
thing.
just another person.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So
Part of
even though the podcast can be 20 minutes long,
Uh-huh.
like you can call in and say, give me a 10-minute overview on this small topic. So then they'll
Okay.
go really into detail on that topic based on the material. So you can use this as a sort of an interactive learning mechanism to really go in depth into the subject matter verbally instead of trying to
Okay.
read stuff.
So question then. So when you interrupt during the podcast like that, and you say, hey, expand, you're zooming in further on a specific topic, does the AI use the same sources that we've already provided it?
Yeah.
Or does it search further offline?
So it uses the same sources,
Okay.
but like if you've got a lot of sources, right?
Or yeah.
So let's put it this way, right? Like right now, I've got 11 or 12 sources.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Some of them are detailed reports,
Mhm.
like the one that Deep Research just generated.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So when Notebook LM, well, we've got 3 detailed reports in there as well, in addition to YouTube videos, which are 10, 15 minutes long.
Right.
So there's a lot of matter in there. So if it generates a 20-minute overview, it'll be condensing some of that matter,
Yeah.
summarizing.
Yeah.
Right? So there's still a lot of matter underneath that you want to learn from, and that
Okay.
you can learn from.
Okay.
I just look at it as I could spend time watching all these 20,
Or just have this summarize this for you.
have this conversation really.
Yeah.
Because once they answer your question, they'll sort of go back to regular scheduled programming.
Mhm,
So they'll
mhm.
drift back to what the audio overview that they had prepared.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I know we say they, but it's really one thing, one model
one model.
talking to itself with different voices to make us feel more comfortable. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so while it's doing that, there was one other thing that I wanted to show you. So it's, Notebook LM is generating the audio overview right now.
Mhm.
Oh, I think it's done. All right. Oh, it's 14 minutes long. All right. So
Wow. Okay. So you're right. It is very much more dense.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but let's see how it goes.
Okay. I'll be quiet. I'll just listen.
No, you know what? I'll have to stop sharing my screen. I have to share the specific tab now.
Oh, okay. Oh, for audio purposes?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember. Is this Chrome, by the way, that you're using?
Yeah.
Oh, I lost the screen.
Yeah, I forgot. Okay, also share audio. Okay. All right, sweet. Okay, so I moved over to interactive mode. I'm gonna raise the volume a little bit. So note to self: I gotta get water next time.
Oh yeah, you should. You can take a break.
Just get a beer. Whoa,
You can edit it out.
It's almost midnight.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Let's do
I'm
this.
gonna just play.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. We're tackling UAPs today. All the buzz about possible government cover-ups. Recovered tech, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff.
We've got a lot to get through, so let's jump right in. Congressional hearings, whistleblowers, even some social media to see what everyone's saying.
Should be interesting.
Our mission, if you choose to accept it, is to figure out what's really going on with these UAPs.
Wow.
And how is the government responding? What are they doing about all this?
It's a big question. A lot of people are asking it for good reason, I think.
Totally. So I think a good place to start might be how the Pentagon has kind of changed their whole stance on UAPs.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they were basically, writing off every sighting as a weather balloon or swamp gas.
Right. It's like they did a total 180. Now they're saying, okay, these things are real. They're even admitting that a lot of cases are just unexplained.
And that's not even getting into that AO report.
Oh yeah, the ARO, the office specifically for investigating UAPs.
Exactly. In their 2023 report, they said that something like 50%, a good 50% of the cases they looked at are just unexplained.
Wow.
They're even saying they're looking at UAPs as a potential national security threat.
That's huge. And I mean, that's not just talk, right? They actually established the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, to investigate all of this. And they haven't come out and said, yep, it's
Okay, give me a
alien.
minute.
But they're also not saying it isn't alien.
Exactly.
It's a very interesting line they're walking.
It is. It is.
Okay,
I think
I'm
it's
ready.
even more interesting because, with all the technology resources they have, they still can't figure out what you're seeing in a lot of these cases.
Great. Well, oh, hey there. What's up?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Oh, they don't hear me. But my question is, what is the likelihood that this is all happening now because of a false flag operation rather than a true sort of discovery or revealing of these so-called beings or entities or phenomena? That's essentially my question.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thanks for checking in.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
We were just discussing.
Yep. Go on.
So I wanted your take on the likelihood that this is a false flag operation, given the timing of the disclosure, as opposed to it being, or rather the timing of all these events happening, as opposed to it being a true disclosure event, which would reveal to humanity that non-human intelligence exists.
Okay, that's a really interesting question. Let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah, it raises a crucial point. The timing of these events definitely makes you wonder.
I mean, you're asking if the government is staging the UAP stuff as a distraction or some other purpose.
It's certainly not impossible given past instances of governments manipulating information.
We have seen that kind of thing in the past, and it makes you wonder, what's the motive?
What would be their goal in doing this now? Okay, that's a really interesting question, and it's definitely something people are wondering about.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically asking if all of this UAP stuff could be a distraction, a kind of elaborate setup.
Exactly, and the timing is curious. Why now? Why all of this attention now?
Okay, let's unpack this. I think to really understand the timing, we need to consider a few angles.
I agree. We can look at how the government has changed their stance, which we were just discussing.
Right, it went from denial to we don't know what this is, could be a slow trickle of info to get the public used to the idea. Maybe it's to unite people around some kind of external threat.
Or maybe it's to justify increased military spending or some kind of new technology.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen all sorts of speculation on that.
It's important to consider all angles before we jump to any conclusions.
Right. I mean, there's also the chance that this is true disclosure.
Exactly.
So one way I think you can figure out that this is two AI, or basically an AI model having a conversation, is it repeats things
Yeah.
a couple times.
Yep.
Because I think it's buying time
It's
to figure out.
Exactly that.
Which is
It does
incredible though, because that's what any good host or even an average host would do, right?
Yeah, they would probably
Summarize and repeat.
Yep.
But it handled it pretty well. I think it found the information that it needed to. And then
this wasn't, I don't know if this is a question. So I don't know if this topic would have been explicitly tackled in any of the YouTube videos. It might have been in one of the reports. But it's interesting that it found that information and it's able to form an explanation of that information as well.
And the thing that makes it most human, at least when it's speaking, it's not like the accents and the cadence. Well, it's kind of it's the pauses.
Yeah.
Like when you call in and then they like wait as if like it's an actual phone line where it would take time for your data to go to that place and they have to hear it.
Yeah.
It's almost perfect is what I would say.
And
In terms of mimicking our behavior.
This is effectively the first generation of conversational AI.
Yeah.
And, I'll just say this to sort of wrap up this little part of our AI conversation. I know we've not talked about you.
Dude, I want to hear that whole podcast, by the way. I'm in.
We'll hear that podcast.
That's crazy.
So our next episode, how about this? We'll add questions.
Okay.
We'll add sources as well.
Sources, yeah.
Feel free to send me sources, by the way.
Sure.
And, we'll regenerate the podcast, and we'll hear it at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, what I'll say is, I don't know what their pricing will be, but I have, Google's work in publicly available LLMs and models has not been great. It has been distinctly behind OpenAI and other companies like Claude.
Cloud. Je m'appelle Cloud.
Yeah. But with its latest models that it's released, and it's not just the latest models, it's the sort of it's doing what Google does. It builds the ecosystem. It's building it well. It's got, I'll show you in our next thing. It's got some crazy projects that are in experimental phase right now. Like for example, if you upload like an image of a car and you click on it, the AI will generate a game from the image where you can drive the car on the screen.
Nice.
It's crazy. So they're building some interesting stuff, and their integration with sort of this is called multimodal interaction. So you can interact with the model using text, using speech, using images, and using videos as well. And it can all treat all of that as inputs, and it can give outputs also the same way. So it's building a very good multimodal AI ecosystem. I think so.
My next question, and something I don't know, maybe they are already doing it, is based on say a minimum number of sources that you enter, 15, 20, or 30. Can it then identify a bunch of other sources that it can pull from if the report or conversation you're trying to have with it, whatever sources it has thus far is not enough, that it can pull from these other sources that are similar?
So my guess, I don't know the answer to this for sure, right? My guess is no. However, I also know that this application has Google's Gemini model sitting under it, and Gemini has been trained on data. So I would be very surprised if it did not use, if this wasn't sort of, I would be very surprised if it was only generating information from the sources that are in there.
Oh, okay. You're saying, okay.
Yeah, I would think that it's using the data that it's been trained on as well. But I'm not an expert on this, and my impression from listening to videos about NotebookLM has been that it'll use the sources that you give it. Yeah,
but I mean, I guess I'm asking, why can't it use, say, like the YouTube algorithm as a recommendation engine?
I think it's
right?
I think it's
based on our behavior.
It's going to evolve to that point very quickly.
And they already have like that recommendation engine is owned by Google. They could just like plug and play instead of video. You're just
Google's going to absolutely like integrate all their data. So all the complex interactions that we are having right now, which humans aren't having any sort of such complex interactions with the Google webpage, right? That's gold for them. That they're going to use that data to integrate it with everything else, all their algorithms, and try to monetize us even more.
Man.
That's why they're doing this, right?
Yeah, monetize attention, which is essentially monetizing time itself. So.
I just wanted to show one last thing, and then we'll start saying our goodbyes in Notebook.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you first I wanted to show you I've prepared all these different notebooks, study topics.
Yeah.
But this one, where I'm trying to learn how to build an agent. This is the one with a ton of sources and a ton of notes over here.
An agent for what though? Like your own AI agent?
Yeah. So maybe next time. So I feel like we're getting some topics for next time. So we're gonna regenerate the podcast. We're gonna listen to that. We're gonna focus on UAPs, and we'll talk about agents.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about what they are, because agents are interesting.
Why don't you call it Agent Smith Notebook?
Right. Big Agent Smith.
Why, Mr. Anderson? Why do you persist?
So good, man. So good. I love that movie. Yeah, dude. So it's been, oh my goodness, it's been an hour and a half. Yeah,
no, that's pleasure. Having fun.
I appreciate you for giving me your time.
Hey, man, this is super interesting. Yeah, that's why I was like, let's start sooner, because I know our conversations are never short, my friend.
And we didn't even get into UAPs.
Yeah.
But
but I think we laid down a good base.
Yeah.
Right.
It would have helped if I wasn't so baked, right?
No, it was fine. It was great.
It was just rambling. Like just a rabbit in a hayfield sniffing his way around.
A rabbit took you. And delicious. I don't think I've ever had rabbit.
Since, at least not for the last week or so, right?
Yeah, not since the event.
Not since the happening. The sacrifice.
The happening. Dude, I thought about that movie recently.
I've still not seen it.
Okay, I won't ruin the twist.
I know the ending.
Okay. For the listeners, it's the plants. Which, the idea of it is great. I just don't think it should have been Mark Wahlberg to sell the idea.
That too.
Because it makes sense for plants to evolve, because there's trillions of them, to be like, hey, let's get rid of these polluting monkeys.
So I got to figure out, I did a screen capture off my whole Google Meet screen. Yeah, I got to figure out if I can crop it out or
okay.
That makes sense.
And then how long does it take you to edit this now? Yeah. And I have a book recommendation, unrelated, kind of related to everything, by Carl Sagan. I'm getting the book, but I've read a few of the quotes in the forward for it. It's really good. It's called The Demon Haunted World. Science as a Candle in the Dark. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend. Yeah. And you will find parallels to what's happening today to what Carl Sagan said all those years ago in the book. And it's uncanny. Yeah. And yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was a blast. And I definitely learned a lot. And I'm looking forward to kind of using these tools to further our own conversations. Pretty awesome, actually. Yeah. I think this is a great way to get people to see these tools and basically use them. Yeah, it'll be great. That's how you know you've made it, if you get canceled. Yeah. All right, brother. Good night.